During today's lesson, we're going to talk about data mining and data cleaning. When I think about data mining, I often think about mining for gold. It's very much the same and very different. But in terms of similarity, if we take a gold rocker, which was designed to separate gold from other debris like sand and rocks, and we put a whole bunch of sand inside the grizzly box, as things settle and are sifted from one another, we'll eventually end up with a pile of sand and a pile of gold. Well, maybe not a pile of gold, but certainly maybe an ounce or two. But think about how much sand we'd have to put in to filter out just a little bit of gold. And maybe we might even have a gold nugget. And just to make sure that our gold is really gold and not fool's gold, we probably want to wash it too. As we begin to look at data, we'll see three aspects of data. We'll find a lot of bad data. We'll find some really ugly data. And among that, we'll find a little bit of good data. Yet even with this good data, we only might have a little bit of good information. When I think of cleaning, I like to think of scrubbing bubbles because it's so easy. You find a stain, you squeeze the scrubbing bubbles on there, you let it bubble, you get a sponge, you wipe it off. Well, unfortunately, cleaning data is not that easy. But exactly what is dirty data? What needs to be cleaned? Several things can constitute dirty data. A couple are leading spaces and trailing spaces. If you have a word like good, and it has, in one instance, 2 leading spaces, that's 6 characters. And good without any leading or following characters are 4 letters. And so when a computer looks at 6 characters versus 4 characters, it thinks that they're different, even though the word good is the same. Same thing with formats. Date format's a good example. Different formats mean different things. Sometimes we'll have a number field, and perhaps the number has a leading 0, and to get the 0 to stay there, someone will make it a text field. And so now you have mixed numbers and mixed text in the same field. You also get all caps, all lowercase, and mixed letters when it should be one or the other. Another flaw in data can be O's entered when zeros were intended, or ones entered when L's were intended, or vice versa. Then you can also have misplaced data. So you have a character field. Character field's condition of equipment, and you have good and bad and poor, but somewhere in there you stick a number. Then you've got some misplaced data. Just to this example, because I've mentioned some of these things. If we look at the chart on the left, we see a table with 3 columns and 11 entries. And we can tell right off the bat, without doing anything else, that there's some problems with it. We see mixed uppercase, lowercase. We see some inconsistencies in date format. And if you look at record number 11, it says 1L. So maybe we accidentally hit the L key. On the right, what I've done is I've used properties and formats or view to view the markups. So you can see things like spaces, which are represented by the dots before and after the 2 in column 1. You see tabs, which are the arrows in that same column. You notice that number 1 doesn't have either spaces or tabs before it because it was right justified. We get down to the dates. One obvious one is record 8, February spelled incorrectly. And not so obvious, but number 3, that has been made a text field. And then, of course, over in the right-hand column, a lot of different things: leading spaces, trailing spaces, inconsistent spelling in terms of uppercase, lowercase, and down at record 9 we actually see a number. So those are the kind of things that constitute dirty data, and the things that we have to deal with. We have to get all of those things, all the dates, for example, have to be in the right format, all the numbers in the right format, and all the conditions in the right format. Once we get our clean data, we'll want to analyze it before we start doing anything with it. And you might do this by various statistical charts or graphs or statistical formulas. The graph in the upper left-hand corner is a classification tree. The one in the upper right corner is a cluster plot, which we would get from doing clustering analysis. Right below that's a histogram, which tells us the frequency of distribution for each of the values that we're dealing with. And then there's some formulas and some names of formulas over here in the lower left corner. So those are the kind of things that we're going to be looking at today in this lesson. Also, we'll be doing some of this hands-on with the open source tool we have, R, and RStudio.